The Melbourne Ska Orchestra are celebrating the milestone of reaching their 20th year of making music. I was fortunate enough to chat with the orchestra's fearless leader, the acclaimed Nicky Bomba, and ask him about the epic tour they're embarking on and how it's felt to reach the 20-year mark. Now, I do apologise for the audio quality of this one as it was conducted via phone since Nicky is currently on the road, but I do encourage you to persevere with listening on, as Nicky is not only one of Australia's most impressive and accomplished musos, it's also a delight to listen to him speak with such passion and enthusiasm for what he does. So without further ado, I'm Ez, this is the Heavy Mag podcast, and this is my interview with Nicky Bomba of the Melbourne Ska Orchestra.
Hi, Nicky.
Oh, hi, Nicky. It's Erin from Heavy Mag. How you going?
I'm good, Erin. How are you?
I'm good, good. Well, let me start off by saying happy 20th birthday.
Yes, I know. It's gone so fast. It's like a little child that we haven't this hasn't grown up yet.
Well, yeah, it's a big time for you guys. New single, anniversary tour, best of vinyl release. So I imagine, and a 20th birthday celebration, the good vibes must be high right now.
Yeah, it's really good. It's like we look back at what we've done, and really how the band started. It was all out of love and a good, beautiful energy of the music, and that's why we had our first gig. We were celebrating the genre, and it's great that after all this time that we're still feels exciting. There's still so many more albums to write and so many more adventures to follow up on. And it's all really a sweet thing. It's pretty happy. We've even got new merch like hoodies and stubby holders and stuff like that. It's quite weird actually. It's great.
The new single, Something Strong, it's quite a wholesome reflection on the history of the band over that last 20 years. Did it give you the warm and fuzzies to write that track?
Yeah, it did actually, because I do a lot of the writing in the band, but we were putting out the vinyl and we realised, we can't just do a single for the tour, and when you have a brief from a songwriting perspective, it's a lot easier to write something. It's a bit like, okay, well, let's talk about the 20 years, and there was so much to talk about. It was like we ended up having like 4 or 5 verses, so we had to kind of condense it into 2, and it is a great feeling, and being able to celebrate, write a song about your own band and your own adventures, and the fact that it's not actually it's not like the end of something. It's just it's still very much a valid, creative energy, this band. So it's kind of like, okay, well, let's keep it fresh, and that the possibilities are endless, and that's kind of the kind of ethos of the band. So yeah, it was great to write it and great to have that feeling, and it sounds really good. I'm really happy with how it turned out. Yeah,
what I really enjoyed about it too was little nods to say, I think, did you mention the SB or the Gershon Room gets brought up in it, and just like it's as much a song about you guys and what you've been through, but it's also really nice for people who, like myself, who are really familiar with those locations and like coming from Victoria too, it feels like a song for the people as much as it is for and the song for people of the scene, much as it is you guys looking back on where you've come as well, because we, through, alternative music and the Melbourne music scene and whatever, we've all been in those places before. So I got a little bit of a kick out of that too myself.
Yeah, well, that's a good kind of sort of description of what happens, because in songwriting there is a kind of a technique where you create a sense of time and space. And place as well, and for reference, like Bob Dylan does it a lot. Paul McCartney will reference kind of stuff and everything, where you kind of go, even Paul Kelly, I mean, classic example, where, you get, of course, know that place, know that feeling, know that vibe, or know that place brings up these memories for me and everything. And they're normally, kind of good vibes anyway, because they're places where you go to, you spend money to have a drink and have a dance, so it's not like, I probably wouldn't like the same thing about a doctor's surgery or a dentist appointment,
maybe not so upbeat anyway.
Yeah, exactly, yeah. So it is. I think it's as much as an effective kind of, composing kind of tool that for myself as well. Again, because it's like the best songs to write are songs that you can actually access from real experience, from the real world, from real life. The words just kind of flow out. When you have to kind of fabricate something or that type of thing, you can do it, but it's not the same as go, I also have this vivid reference of all of this type of thing. It's going to be easy to write, So, and I'm glad that it translated that way for you. Yeah.
And so has it felt like the last 20 years has just flown by?
Yes and no. Yeah. Yes, and the fact that, when you're looking back and pictures and all this kind of stuff, where we've been, or it's up, I mean, life kind of moves pretty fast anyway. I mean, when I think about it, we're only here for like 80 or 90 years, a bit of a blink anyway. So, just trying to make it the best blink that we can, But I think in some ways, it's we have achieved a lot, and we have. Been to a lot of different places and a lot of different things, and there is a sense of, like we've ticked the boxes of lots of things, and as a result of that's where it feels like, no, it actually, we have done a lot, and I mean, and I suppose it's a bit of both, in some ways it's like, wow, that's gone fast. But in other ways, going, hang on a second. If you look at it, we've actually, we did this thing, the other thing, and then, you look at your personal relationship that aligns with where you were at the time with the orchestra and everything. It's like, no, I've been through a lot. There's been lots going on, It's all good.
Like any family, there's ups and there's downs.
That's right, exactly.
Yeah, I love that you've titled it 20 years young, Zoe, too, because that implies that there's a whole lot of mileage left in the tank for you guys.
Yeah, totally. I mean, when I wrote that, I had a bit of backlash from some of the team and everything, just because they just thought it was kind of a big cliche, and I'm going, cliche is because things happen often and they you just don't want to use them too much. But this is cliche. This is real. We are 20 years and we are still chomping at the bit.
Still kicking.
So I celebrated that. And I flew the flag for that title.
Yeah, good job. And I like that you said before too about ticking boxes, because that is one of the questions on my list. Was that what has Melbourne Ska Orchestra got left on the bucket list that you're still yet to tick off?
There's lots of things, actually, to be surprised. We're doing a little feature film with a guy called Clayton Jacobson.
Yeah, amazing.
That's in a thing. But we want to do remember those shows from the 60s, like James Brown or the Beatles or Rolling Stones? They did like the black and white Tammy shows, where you play to a studio audience in a TV studio. So we want to orchestrate like a little special, like 40-minute special where we're playing live in front of an audience, but it's captured properly.
Yeah, amazing.
So that's on the cards at the moment. There's another album. I mean, we're always writing. We're always there's such a big, beautiful talent pool in the band that there's always ideas kind of flowing left, right, and centre. And we're pretty self-sufficient as far as being able to record stuff ourselves. What else? I mean, more overseas touring. We wanted to do an extensive European tour. We've pretty much done the States and Canada, and we've done Turkey and a bit of the Pacific Islands. But I'm originally from a place called Malta. That's where I was born, and there's a great festival there called Earth Garden that we've been trying to get on, and it looks like next year it's all going to happen. So it looks like next year it'll be the European tour, which works out great because everything's kind of back to normal now as far as funds and everything. So there's that, and I don't know. We might open up a haberdashery shop.
Well, look, when you say that you're always writing, that was another thing I wanted to touch on, because I have to say any band that can survive the process of recording one song a week for the entirety of a year has to have some kind of superpower. Like, I know the pressures and the fatigue of being in a recording studio myself. So what in God's name possessed you all to willingly undertake such a mental task? And what did you learn from that?
I think that you put the word, what in God's name possessed you. Exactly. Well, look, again, it was a thing of like, we were doing a thing where we were dropping like a song a month, we're kind of going with a song drop, we started doing that a little bit and everything, and then we're like, this is kind of pretty lame. Let's what do you reckon? Let's
up the ante.
Let's up the ante. Let's do a song a week for a whole year. Come on, guys, we could do this. We could break it up into a section. So we were going to do like a card game, and so each week was going to be like a new card.
Yeah. So
it ended up being 52, and then we thought, oh no, it's kind of, we need to break it up a little bit. So we broke it up into 4 chunks of 13. And I think the beautiful thing about it is that we are a pretty well organised, well-oiled team, and there is a lot of love and energy for the music. Mm-hmm. And it was an opportunity to actually kind of flex our muscles from a compositional point of view too, to kind of like be, because you find most songwriters, when you listen to their conversations about what their modus operandi is, what their method is, they most of them say, you just have to put the time in. You have to put the time in, and even if you don't come up with anything, it doesn't matter. You would have waded through something that you're not going to go back to. So, and you find the gems in the junk. Yeah. So you have to put the time in. And so it wasn't really hard for us to kind of get into that mode. It just meant that writing's one thing, but then if recording it's another.
Yeah.
So I just had to put my military, hat on and go, right, this is actually a military operation. Here's the roster, here's the schedule, here's your what time you're coming in, what time, and what studio we're going to use, and who's organising catering, and who's paying for the coffees, and all that type of thing. But it did start out quite illustrious, because it started out with fairly good meals. Especially when we come to the mixing thing, and a nice drink and a nice setting. And by the end of it, it was like, 4 a.m. souvlaki's and dollar coffees at 7-Eleven,
Lord of the Flies by the end of the year.
Exactly, yeah. Totally.
I was going to say, how many weeks into it did you all get before you were looking at each other and just thinking like, who came up with this? And
halfway, we kind of went, oh, shit, okay. Because also, we were utilising a couple of different studios, and the money ran out really quickly. That was offered to us, so we had to kind of get more self-sufficient and do stuff ourselves. And so, I had to kind of set up another studio in Melbourne because it was the most convenient place for everyone to actually come together. And the roster system and who was available, because everyone was still kind of doing their teaching and other gigs and everything. So organising that amount of people. So at the end, we did things where we did 2 or 3 songs in one hit with the horns, for example. But most of the writing stuff was done just on a weekly basis. But at the end of it, we went, oh, fuck, I do that again.
Yeah, I was going to say, did you all need to take a holiday from each other at the end?
Sort of, but then 3 weeks later, we got together again, and it was like, kind of miss it.
Yes, yeah.
It was a really intense, intelligent way of actually getting a lot of songs in.
Yeah.
So it was good. So we haven't kind of done that again. Maybe we just might give ourselves a song a month, back to that for a while.
Yeah. I'm interested to know too, though, with that process, because of the way that the music industry has changed a lot, particularly over the last 20 years. In terms of it's not about physical sales of records and stuff anymore. It's very much about your likes and your views and your streams. Did that process keep momentum like steadier for the band than what it would be if you were doing your sort of a normal release cycle where you sit on a couple of singles and then an album drops and then it's a few months?
Yeah. Look, to be honest, I'm from my first release. I mean, I'm probably older than I've been playing since I was about 6 years old. So when I first released something, it was on vinyl because that's all there was. So I go back that far. So I've struggled, to be honest, to come to terms with how the industry has kind of completely devalued, the song, and I know it's accessible. I mean, I love to be able to go, I want to hear, a Fela Kuti song. I can just go to my Spotify or Apple and just go Fela Kuti. There it is, So there is a beautiful convenience about that. And as humanity, I know that we like to make things easier and cheaper and more efficient and, at our fingertips. That's just the way we are. Yeah. But I think there's been no compensation from, the authorities to kind of go, hey, all of a sudden your $20,000 album don't necessarily convert into sales because when you finish it, you just literally have to just give it to a distributor or whatever, to say Spotify, for example, which then, people pay them to listen to, and then you get a portion of that. So it's all about the streams and that type of thing. And it's nowhere near the amount of revenue that we used to make with CDs and vinyl and that type of thing. It's in no way, So that's I had to get my head around that for a long time anyway. And so in relation to the releasing of the songs, it didn't really come into play, to be honest, because I suppose I've turned a blind eye to how that, because if I thought about that, or if we thought about that too much, we probably would have kind of stopped ages ago, because it seems like a little bit even futile a lot of the time. That things are just so kind of quick, and the attention span is just been reduced to 10 or 15 seconds, and I get that. I get that how humanity is. So we just kind of had to do the thing of like, this is not about the fact that getting runs on the board. It's just about that we want to be able to create a good body of work. So at the end of it, there was a box CD set. So we were kind of more thinking the old school when you think about it, but yeah, it is definitely a thing that I sympathise with a lot of musicians and record labels that, the kind of the rug's been pulled from underneath them, and I feel the same way about taxi drivers too. Like for a long time, I used to have a lot of conversations with taxi drivers, go to the airport and how, they have to mortgage half their house to get the plates in order to run a taxi, and then all of a sudden, which is a beautiful convenience, Uber came in, for example, and all these drivers didn't have to do that. And the taxi drivers, they're like, look at me, and I have a conversation with them, going, I can't believe it. All of a sudden, I've spent, mortgaged half my house to get these plates, and now someone can so there's a similarity between that and what's happening with the music industry, So, but the thing is that where does the compensation come in? Because these are all, in many ways. Sorry to ramble on here, but it's in many ways, someone duplicating our songs is like a forgery. And we're not being paid for the, so especially when CD burners kind of came along, it was like, but this is me having just a little observational understanding of how the industry is now, and whether, I can choose to leave this industry and go, well, if you don't like it, leave the boat, but there was a real kind of thing of like, nah, I love making music, I love performing live, and if this is the state of the play, then don't fight them, join them type of thing, and it's all you can do, really.
And it changed. Everything changed relatively quickly too. Like it all sort of once you said with CD burners and Napster and all that sort of just rolled out really quickly, and then next minute here we are. And I think there's pros and cons. Like you said, the convenience of it is great, but I do feel for up and coming bands nowadays too, because there's so much emphasis on branding around it as well. It isn't just about the music. It's about how you look on TikTok and how your graphics are, and it's a crazy old world that's not.
Well, I personally, I got sucked into all of that for a long time when it first happened because I thought that's kind of what you had to do.
Oh, it's really hard not to get bogged down in that, and the algorithms change, almost weekly, So
I've actually gone to the point of like forking out money to employ people to take care of that, and I'm pretty much, when it comes to my phone, it's pretty much a camera and a communication device and a recording device for my songs, and that's it. And I pretty much stay off all social media personally.
I was going to say, I think your mental health would be thanking you for that move.
Yes, no, it's more of a thing now that I have. I realise that that's an essential tool. And so I happily, pay people to do that and who love that world, and it's given me a whole peace of mind, So that's my choice, and it's working well for me. I'm a lot happier and lot less anxious these days as a result.
Yeah, definitely. Well, let's talk about the tour. Let's talk about more uplifting things because you guys. So you've basically just kicked off, right? So you're in Queensland tomorrow night.
Yep.
You're starting off in Queensland.
So Miami Marquetta, then we got Cairns on Saturday.
Oh, nice places to start a tour.
Yeah, and then WA, Fremantle, and then we got Adelaide, and we got Sydney, and then we got Thurrool, Melbourne show. And we're trying to get a Tasmania one at the moment too, just trying to kind of, we want to make sure that we get to all states, and there's also a Northern Territory option. But they're the rest of the tour is going really well, selling really well, and there's definitely a vibe for the band. It's great, if when you're in a band this size that's got that much energy, it's really uplifting. When we get together, it's like a family vibe, It's like there is a real kind of sense of joy around what we do, and also an appreciation for something, a band this size, to have had so much traction, and to have got the accolades as well. It's pretty cool. Everyone kind of goes, let's give this love, because it's a special thing that comes across in one's life, now and again, and this is one of those special things.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, it's one thing to listen to this style of music on a recording, but it really comes to life, for want of a non-cliched term, when it's live. And that's, like you said, there's such a connectivity between the audience and the band, and just the energy. You can't replicate that with other styles of music. I don't think. Like, ska music is just something else altogether.
Yeah, well, the ska music is born from community, right? Yeah. You usually have a lot of people that have come together playing parts simply, but the sum of the parts is it is a truly kind of an amazing experience, and I think the live performance is a real ancient ritual, the connection between the audience and the performers, and I try to bridge that as the best I can, and this band is so on the same page with that type of thing, is that we just want to make it one big happy party, and we want people to be leaving smiling and energized. So that's our goal, and we're pretty good at it.
I was going to say, if you set out with a goal like that, you're not going to fail, really, are you? So, and has it been a while since you've last toured?
Before we've been, but since it's kind of June last year, we've been kind of back on the rank. But a proper tour, it's been, the last tour was pre-COVID.
Yeah, cool. So, is there anywhere on the schedule that you're like particularly excited for, or that like a location that's perhaps sentimental or special?
No, all the gigs are, we have a different vibe in each place, and we have a really kind of, the audience kind of, as the more we play, the more the audience gets it, and the word of mouth gets around saying, you need to come and check out this spectacle. It's just like something you'll not see. It's not a normal situation, not a normal experience. And it really, I try to carry that. It's like a bit like a happy circus.
Yeah, I love that. And your best of vinyl release is limited edition. Where's the best place that people can go to get their hands on that one?
We're going to be selling them at gigs, but online otherwise.
Well, Nicky, I'm very conscious of your precious time, and I'm assuming you've got some preparation to do for.
Yeah, got lots at the moment. Got about three or four more interviews, and I've got to sort out the merch. There's hoodies everywhere at the moment.
No rest for the wicked.
Thanks for the chat, lovely.
No worries.
Thanks for doing your research too. That was good.
No worries. Have an absolute blast with the tour.
Okay, thanks, lovely.
Take care.
Bye, love.
Bye.
20 Years Young is the latest release from the Melbourne Ska Orchestra celebrating their 20th anniversary, and it's out now. Also, as Nicky said, they have released a new line of merch to coincide with the anniversary, so you can load up the online shopping cart by visiting melbourneskaorchestra.com. The orchestra has commenced its tour, and you can catch them in Brizzy, Fremantle, Adelaide, Melbourne, Sydney, Wollongong and Mawsons Creek over the course of the next month, with more dates to be announced as well. Thanks for listening to the Heavy Mag Pod, and we will catch you again soon. Celebrating